Hello, welcome to this Dairy Hollow Chinwag, brought to you by the Writers Colony at Dairy Hollow. We're a nonprofit residency program for writers of all backgrounds, genres, and levels of experience. Our 8 private writing suites are housed in 2 adjacent buildings in a wooded setting within walking distance to the quaint Victorian arts village of Eureka Springs in the Arkansas Ozarks. We provide uninterrupted writing time, a European-style gourmet dinner served 5 nights a week in our community dining room, and the camaraderie of other professional writers when you want it, and a community kitchen stocked with the basics for other meals. Learn more about us at writerscolony.org. Today, it is my great pleasure to introduce Ethan Richmond, winner of the 2021 Celebrate Maya Project Fellowship for Young Writers on Social Justice Issues. Ethan is a poet and a student at Williams College. And Ethan, why don't we start by having you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ethan. I am 19 and I'm a sophomore at Williams College. And I'm originally from Madison, Connecticut, and I use he, him pronouns.
Thank you, Ethan. So tell us about what you write and what inspires you.
Yeah, so I write poetry and I'm inspired by a lot, originally by my twin brother, Dylan, who introduced me to poetry and he pushes me to be my best on and off the page. And I'm very thankful for him because he gave me something that I love to do. And then now I'd say like I'm inspired by the world around me. So like nature, I really love water, breath, skin, and plants, and the sky. And I use life around me to work through the life I live. So whether like politics, grief, or joy, or anything like that.
And can you tell us about how being at Dairy Hollow affected your writing while in residence? And what did you bring away from your residency?
Yeah, so my biggest struggle before coming to Dairy Hollow was revision. And so I had a lot of problems with like editing my poems and stuff like that. So, but there was something about like being in the space at Dairy Hollow and taking time to sit with myself and with my poems and my vision that allowed me to edit my work in a way I've never been able to do before. And so like, although I'm not like physically in that space anymore, I've taken the essence of what is needed for like meaningful revision with me. So I'm really grateful that I learned how to revise my poems.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about your hearing you read your poetry. Why don't you tell us about what you're reading, and I'm going to turn the floor over to you, and I'm looking forward to hearing you read.
Awesome. Yeah, so today I will be reading 5 poems from a manuscript I'm writing and that I worked on while at Dairy Hollow. Okay, so this first one is an ode to the poet Ellen Bass's poem called The Thing Is. You smell like the earth in the summertime. Skin like her too, it's refreshing. Like coming home and I can't get close enough to you. I try to crawl inside the slits in the air where the scent of you lives. Hearth warm, yet windows open, and rain too, but just end up with my face held between your hands. Swollen brown eyes looking at me like I'm the most beautiful thing you have ever seen. I don't think I deserve it after you complimented the sky like a child would. Except there was no shame in your wonder. Which way, I asked you, and you just pointed at a New Haven sunrise. And now I realize I was held in your hands the way you hold onto life. Gently, you are June, where I am solstices and the dragonflies and the conversations with the wind and the sand and the accents at the farmer's market and the bees and their blossoms and the grass and the cracks on the sidewalk that still make shadows of their own, and yes, the rain. Okay, and then this next poem is called Honey, and I wrote it about growing up in Madison, Connecticut. Take a sip of water. Okay, honey. Allow me to offer you a boy. He stands in the mirror, fingering his frizz down and forward every cold Connecticut morning as if even gravity could control black coil, black kink, wearing collared caramel shirts and canvased boat shoes to a school made of brick for the curb appeal. And in the acrid, anomalous air of his reflection, he pretends he loves the color of his eyes by dipping them in the sun and calling them honey when he's only just in love with them lighter. Seeing himself seeing these drunk saccharine combs like veins of an iris tormented by ambrotype, the boy praises their richness in a parade of poetry that smells sweetly like tired shoulders and a dead thing that's been dead a long time. Guilty shadow, cold and kissing chapped lips that break like the ice its burnt body was never made to see. Cross-contaminated bone blights life with vengeance, cursing its own dizzied karyotype in nimbostratus lullabies. Sophomore year, the boy reads The Bluest Eye, and his classmates begin nonchalantly to analyze the words. It had occurred to the boy some time ago that if those eyes of his were different, that is to say, beautiful, he himself would be different. Maybe they'd say, why look at that pretty-eyed boy. We mustn't do bad things in front of those pretty eyes. Carelessly analyzing the same words he's been writing down in a journal he has been treating like a replacement for sight, the dog leather cover closes over and the spine of patience is proved a liar in its own home. White picket fences entitled, embellishing front yard so green the lawn is a sky cut by clouds above houses with 3 stories. One narrative, not including the basements, so the enameled posts are enabled, standing gird against God forbid anything that looks like him, walks like him, speaks like him, the boy. His grace is an unfamiliar sound amidst cardinals in the ocean, cars named luxury that turn themselves off when stopped at a red light, maple trees and cobblestone and coffee, burning tongues hugged by white teeth unraveling their christenings like daddy's credit card at the premium outlet mall. Look closer and allow me to offer you a boy. Soft, warm, rhythmic stride of naivete, sweet and glacéd beneath employee footsteps in a J. Crew, tethered unrelentlessly to his black body, entertaining the idea that biraciality exists. His own whiteness milked like milk chocolate, thinking the mulatto comes only from sugar, and the dark cocoa liquor is masked by sweetness even when the color stays. But they could have saved some time following him around until he learned to swallow the bitterness like a real nigga who's never tasted honey in his life. And then this next one, I wrote before I left for college this year, and it's Untitled. Okay. The night before I leave for my sophomore year of college, my mother and I sit at the dining room table. The bullfrogs in the ephemeral pool beyond the windowsill kiss the silence as she paints my nails. I'm looking at her hands. The surgeon's precision I know she's longed so wistfully to use works slowly to decorate each of my fingers in deep yellow blush. Age has played intimately with her skin. A parchment canvas stretched taut over wooden bones, gold wedding band still hugging tightly to its home for the last 24 years in your eyes. Damp with soft vigor. I can't help but notice the way your hair is braided. You look like your own mother, and I smile for no reason at all. Have you noticed how everything looks like nothing from far away? But step closer, run your heartbeat over the brush strokes. Coexist with the scubbling, bathe in the wrinkled skin of the canvas. Bruise it, wear around your shoulders like a tallis, around your body like a blanket and a shield. Scar it, nurture it, stretch it, dance with it, make love to it, in it, bleed it dry so it may fill up again and memorize its aches and woes so that when you step back to take it all in, the ordinary of it all is not taken for granted and maybe, just maybe, not so ordinary after all. It's been a month since then, and a new coat is long overdue. Though almost chipped out of existence, the drugstore polish held its own, stood its ground, and reminded me kindly of the woman, delicate like tectonics, strong like water, brave like forsythias, and beautiful like a winter sun still bright enough to bloom before your eyes even after you look away, who raised me. telling me with nothing other than the grace of her hands and the steady conversation they garden in her child's palm that I remind her of nothing less than herself. And then this fourth one, I wrote at Dairy Hollow, and it's called Take Care of Yourself. You know, sip of water. Okay. Take care of yourself. I am quiet. There is a give and take in this world between noise and negative space, the entering of an absence with the intent of filling it. How is it that clean, untried air we cannot hold can become heavy with sound? Where on its apologizing shores do the waves settle? Its hands are cupped like a collarbone, but my body is nothing to its vanishment that isn't a going because it doesn't leave. How is it there and gone all at once? A memory born perpetually, heavy and light taking turns on an innocent mystery without the ability to give them back. How can I take care of myself when I too am stripped of ingredient? If there is a give and take in this world, can I give care of myself, store it in the bends and folds of the opacity I feign, and take it back? A violation of nature with means of comfort for a symptom uninventing itself. And then this last one is called Butterfly Sermon. I write this as a eulogy to the skin I used to wear, heavily opaque, an obstruction of sunlight I couldn't grow. Zikrano Levracha, may his memory be a blessing. And now, as I stand surrounded by piles of years unfurling like ribbons on the floor, bruises dripping off my body, scars melting into different constellations, salt from unremembered tears peeling my eyes into new prescriptions, I remind myself I am a child of God. The land and the sea and the sky meet me like lightning, chewing the marrow in my bones as they crash against one another, clumsy with giddiness and hubris. I hear a crack along my spine and whirl to my knees and hands in echoed throes, surrendering to soliloquy. The earth beneath me gives way to the sheer weight of pulse. Prayer reacquaints itself with my tongue, faith with my words. I am beautiful because I am here, alive, still. And part of what feeds that truth is how long it took for me to become of it. Reification and evisceration in reverse. Thank you.
Ethan, thank you so much for sharing with us. Your poetry is beautiful and you deliver it just remarkably well. It's such a treat to hear you read.
My pleasure.
And thank you also to author Adele Holmes, Janetta Kearney Esquire, and the Celebrate Maya Project for generously sponsoring this fellowship. The mission of the Celebrate Maya Project is to honor and encourage literacy, creativity, and the social consciousness of our youth and community through the inspiring work of artist and activist Maya Angelou. Learn more at celebrate-mayaproject.org. And you can learn about sponsoring a writer's colony at Dairy Hollow Fellowship for the genre or area of interest you're passionate about at writerscolony.org, sponsor a fellowship. Thanks again, Ethan, and thank you everybody who's watching this for joining a Dairy Hollow Chinwag.